and welcome to The Big Story, the conversation that goes beyond the headlines to examine the forces shaping our world and our future. Today we turn the attention to streets, once vibrant with chants, placards, and civic courage, now increasingly met with barricades, batons, arrests, and silence. Our focus today is titled When the Street Goes Silent: Protest Crackdowns and the Future of Civic Freedom. From America to the Middle East, and right here in Nigeria, protests have emerged as the language of the unheard. Yet, the response of government has raised urgent questions. Are states protecting public order or shrinking civic space? Where is the line between security and suppression? Samson Balogun is my name, and joining us shortly is Comrade Oluwakemi Ademola Aremu, KT, a civic voice, an activist, as we interrogate what these crackdowns mean for democracy, dissent, and future of people power. Across the world, protests have become a defining feature of modern governance. Expressions of frustration over inequality, police brutality, economic hardship, electoral credibility, and political repression. However, a troubling pattern has emerged. As citizens take to the street, governments increasingly respond with force rather than dialogue. In the United States, widely regarded as a bastion of free speech, recent protests, particularly around police violence, racial injustice, and foreign policy, have been met with heavy security deployment. Riot police, curfews, mass arrest, and the use of crowd control measures have raised concerns among civil liberties groups. While authorities argue that the need to prevent chaos and protect property, critics insist that aggressive policing has chilled free expression and blurred the distinction between lawful protest and criminal conduct. Moving to the Middle East, particularly Iran and Iraq, protests have often been rooted in deeper systemic issues: economic collapse, corruption, and youth unemployment, and sometimes long-standing political repression. In Iran, demonstrations sparked by social and political grievances have been met with swift crackdowns, internet shutdowns, and mass detentions. Iraq has witnessed similar unrest, with protesters demanding accountability and better governance. The situation becomes even more complex with external interest as the United States signals concern and possible intervention under the banner of human rights and regional stability. A move that critics argue sometimes escalates tension rather than resolve them. And back home in Nigeria, the NSAS protests remain a painful and defining moment. What began as a peaceful youth-led movement against police brutality quickly spread nationwide and gained global attention. Protesters demanded dignity, accountability, and reform. The government's response, including the use of force, arrest, and denial narratives, not only ended the protest, but left deep scars, according to some people in some quarters, which was denied by the government. Trust between citizens and the state was badly damaged. Businesses were destroyed, lives were lost, and a generation became more skeptical of authority. To this day, many Nigerians say justice was never fully served, and the core issue that fueled the protest remained unresolved. Taken together, these examples raise a present question. If protests are silenced without solutions, what happens to democracy itself? When streets go quiet, is it peace or fear? Thank you for joining us in the studio this morning. I have with me Oluwakemi Ademola Aremu, Comrade KT. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here this morning. And I love this particular topic. It's what I've lived for.
There was this particular question that I asked earlier, and it's about when the streets go silent. Now, is it peace or fear?
When the street goes silent, it can be incubation. Yes, because the struggle is really between who dictates, who is serving, who suffers. So when the citizenry, that is why we have different kinds of activists. You have the activist that is a citizen of a nation and has enough understanding to know that things are not going right. There's inequality. Look at all the things you've listed. Things about poor economy, unemployment. So when you are the employed, you will not understand the cry of the unemployed. When you, I think 2 days back now, I was listening to a man and I felt so sorry. He went to the office, they had owed him salary for 4 months, and then they said the job was gone. And within those 4 months, while he was trying to survive, he had expended all his savings. Now he has to pay a landlord because it's not his home. He has to pay child school fees, and the wife did not understand. And I felt, wow, this is terrible. No man should leave. If there's no system, it's always, sometimes it's backsliding from democracy. In a democracy, everybody has a voice. So it's in backsliding from a democracy. That's why people protest. Look, something is going wrong. And let me tell you, activists, most of the time, activate the group. So when you see a silence on the street, it means the citizenry are not conscious or they are being lured by promises of a better future. Another type of activist is the reformer that says, look, the way we're doing this, for example, Nigeria, no maintenance culture. So you see a lot of syrup making those kind of, can we look at this? Can we look at this? So we have different groups of activists in the system. Then you now have the rebels. The rebels are people that think we want to change the whole system. Now, changing the whole system,
you have to be radical about it.
No. When they use the word radical, they are really naming a dog to be able to shoot it. They like shooting us, huh? They're naming the dog to shoot it. So you're saying they're radical, and I tell them they don't know chemistry. Yes, when you talk about the radical, that is that particular group that comes in and help your product come to be what you want it to be. But when you say they are radical, you say you're trying to say they are rebellious, okay? So, but really, the reformer is somebody that thinks, no, we can't go on this way. And we've had histories of reformers.
So government would argue that protest, if unchecked, can degenerate and become a full-blown crisis. And we have seen that happen before.
If the government, when you mention dispute, there are processes for resolving dispute. Every protest begins with a whisper. If somebody's a Rosa Parks standing up and saying, no, I'm not giving my seat, okay? It begins with somebody saying, I look through the holy books, please. These are 99 ways in which you're wrong. It is also a Cyrus listening to a spirit that told him, go deliver my people, go set them free. So now, where the cry comes from, where the whisper comes from, where the inspiration comes from, the new history book you read, some story you listen to, look at Fela Nicola Pokuti. The mother told him, you can't be trying to sing like a white man, huh? It's not going to work for you. Go listen to civil liberation. The suffragists. So people don't just wake up and start fighting. Is that I have a friend who was a nurse, and when she noticed from a brief that somebody had died because of negligence, she left that practice and became a lawyer. So she wanted to help people speak. She wanted to help them find their voice.
Protest is a right. It's a civic right.
It is in a civilized society. It's a form of information. It is feedback. It is government knowing that something is happening. Because really when you're really busy paddling the boat, you're looking ahead.
Communicate, do you agree that every right comes with responsibilities?
Definitely. You see, when you mention the word protest, there are different kinds of protest. You can have civic disobedience. So that is what you see most of the time. You saw what Martin Luther King did, So you can have civil disobedience. You can also have the active one that is on the street. Now, by the time it hits the street, somebody had not listened in the dark. And then the process of protest, you must give a notification. That's why you hear people say, we're giving the government this notification. Industrial resolution is different. The citizens saying, no, we are suffering. There's no light, and you're not listening to us.
In a country like Nigeria, the US, even Iraq and Iran, when heavy security guards are deployed during protest, is that not a sign of the government trying to prevent chaos?
No, it's this way. Chaos. Look, when we say chaos, that means everything is scattered. Entropy. You moved me.
Is it not better to prevent rather than react?
Which government is preventing? The nations you have mentioned now, they have different forms of governance. But everybody pretend you're going to be. Look, when you're born into strength, you will never understand what a man that is born into pain goes through. There are generational poverty ridden people. There are people that have situational poverty is the one you hear, the story of grass to grace. That's situational poverty. You had already inherited some things. You had a language for English. I keep saying it that those of us that can speak English, we are really in a privileged group in Nigeria. You went to school, you are a privileged person. But you will never understand the pain of that child whose great-grandfather died because of a snake bite, because there was no health care available. Okay? You will never understand the pain of having something in you that you cannot voice because you don't have the language with which you speak to authority. You can never understand the pain of that woman that was married off at 9 or 6 years old, and she has to deal with a man that is 73 years old. You know what that means? You will never understand the life of people that have no choices. In fact, sometimes when I look at people, I go on the street. I'm a street person, okay? So sometimes when I'm under the bridge, in fact, there was somebody that once spoke to me and said, Casey, be careful when you go under the bridge. I said, hey, what's the problem? These people are not dangerous to me. He said, hey, no, because they have people. I said, you're a very wicked person. These people under the bridge, they know some people want to come at night and steal their body parts. Okay? They know that some people are looking for somebody's kidney to steal. They know that there's somebody coming to look for somebody to use for rituals. Won't they protect themselves? So when the military is bearing the arm, is protecting the state. When the licensed citizen is holding a gun, is protecting his beautiful estate, isn't it? But when the poor man, who is more vulnerable, is trying to say something to power, then that one is not okay. Do you know what happened? There was a time even in Ibadan here, or your state, a governor was referring to another governor, say, the road was going to destroy his house, but because he's my friend, I did not allow it. Meaning what? The powerful people, they have ways of settling their scores. They marry into one another. They attend one another. Do you think when they go for parties, it's because they don't have things to do? They are networking. So when you are the poor man, and the tax is coming on your head, and somebody is saying you don't deserve to have food, whereas they feed on the state, what do you do? So when people come to, and then there are people of conscience. If you look at the history of activism, you have somebody like Karl Marx. He was in the privileged group. So he understood what the masses were missing. Look at French Revolution. People were crying because of bread, and bread was thrown at them. They now, no, we're not going to take this. So when you have a situation where people are lured by promises, that's why politicians come with promises. Don't worry, tomorrow will be better. We're putting something in place. But their children are not schooling in Nigeria.
Let's take a look at what is going on across the world, in Iraq, Iran, and some other countries that are currently undergoing what we call unrest, civil unrest. At this time, if it continues this way, and then there is an external interference, just like the US promised they were going to interfere, will it worsen the situation or put it to an end? No,
power will change hands. And that's why, look, if you look at Iran, Iraq, if you're a female in Iraq, you may not like life. You may not like life. You're told your face is the reason a man cannot control himself. You cannot speak in public. So if you're a writer, for example, and I'm creative and there's something bubbling, I always tell people that, look, when you're a creative person, you're not externally driven. It's internal. You're sleeping, you have a dream, something is talking to you, you want to say something, and somebody says you can't put your mouth because you're female. And somebody says you must always say yes to whatever anybody is bringing your way. Is that life? You're existing, you're not living. So when you now have a peek into the world and say, so there are some countries where people don't have to marry at 6 or 9. There are countries where they don't have to cut my body parts and say, so that I will not be very, very active. Because, as a reproductive humanity, people have sex. There are certain pleasures that come with food, certain pleasures that come with sex. And somebody says, you're a female, if you enjoy it too much and I have 4 of you, I can't satisfy all of you. You may be tempted to go out, so I'll cut off your clitoris. Are you getting it? Somebody just decides that. So sometimes it is the reformer that says female genital mutilation is wrong. You are cutting off body parts and you are causing harm. You are making scars that makes it difficult for these human beings to have babies in the future and can risk their life. Please, let's stop this practice. Mary Slessor came to a place and said, twins are not devilish. Killing twins is evil. So, oh, did she have it easy? Those are the reformers. So when you come into new knowledge, in some climes, kings, you know, there was a time in Yoruba, they say, aye familete in tuto. Kings were really spitting into people's mouths. Was that not so? And then you'll be there. Men make other men slaves of other men. Somebody say, it doesn't have to be that way. For example, in Nigeria, why should I go to school and not have a job? Why will the federal government of Nigeria not create a local industry in 774 local governments?
Is it possible for the government to create jobs for everyone?
It is possible. Don't buy into the lie. The money they are going to waste telling us they are good. You know, these campaigns are terrible things. Telling us they are good. If you are good, we know you're good. If you're not good, you're not good. And that is where the energy should come from the system. So when you are deceiving people, look at your... You know, there was a time when senators in Nigeria were wearing only white. Because they thought people couldn't tell the difference. Let's get this right. We are under siege. Siege of civilian dictatorship. Where some people connive with their friends and they begin to rule over you. Sometimes they claim theocracy like in Iran. No, in Iraq. Look at Iran. Iran is different. If you look at their history, you see the Persians know what they want. At a time, somebody hijacked their system. They said, let's go back to what we had. Okay? There was a time in Yoruba land where everybody was employed. Okay? Where everybody knew their place, where they had identity.
Don't you think population had a lot to do with that?
No. It's a disrupted governance. And that's why somebody's saying, let's go back to what we had. Because it's not that we've not tested it before. We've won it before, we've known it, but we lost it, we forgot it, we backslided. Let's get back to the right thing. So it is better to organize people than to let them be protesting.
Do you think governments are justified to resist foreign-backed narratives just to destabilize existing governments?
See, if the government is of the people, serving the people, and inclusive, bringing everybody in, will there be a problem? It's when you have a group of people who are nepotistic, who are despotic, coming together to oppress other people. There's somebody in that lot, like a Frederick Douglass, we hate slavery. And I really think something is wrong if you don't hate slavery. When you pay a man a wage that will not help him be the man of his home, what are you doing to him? When the man is still not very strong, because there's nobody to discuss with, he will implode, take drugs, take alcohol, and kill himself. So I tell people, don't implode, explode. At least you get to do something out there.
Now, bringing it back home, let's talk about the NSAS protest and some other protests across the country in the
protest.
history. Now, it started peacefully.
Yes.
Before it was hijacked. So, at what time were you expecting the government to intervene to bring it to an end or to intervene decisively? No.
Okay, let's put it this way. When the NSAS protest came, it was focused. End SARS. Because of what we've observed. Look, if you're a criminal, you know you're a criminal. But when people just pick you at random, say, no, this is not right. Okay, you, what did you do? I was just going. They took my laptop because the policeman has never seen laptop before and thinks it's only Yahoo boys that can have laptop. Okay? Then they got them, said, no, this is terrible. They're picking us up. They're shooting some. They're killing some. So what do we do? Then they came together. Now, it had a focus. But unfortunately, the so-called celebrities turned it to jamboree. And it's so terrible how very serious issues in Nigeria become jamboree. When the jamboree starts, then the trouble comes. Then the government, instead of having trained officers that know how to talk to people, organize them, condone off the area, which is the job of the police to protect the citizenry, what did they do? They switch off the lights at night. And those children really believed if you had the Nigerian flag in your hands, then what will happen? Now, when the government even said they were going to be compensating, you remember, the victims, they had not even agreed that they victimized people. What kind of narrative is that?
Now, let's go back to what could have happened if it was prevented earlier. All right, according to total losses nationwide on the NSAS process, organized private sector losses, including looted goods, vandalized assets, destroyed infrastructure, and business interruptions, were estimated at over 5 trillion, according to Nigerian Employers Consultative Association, NECA. All right, the Lagos State alone The Lagos State Chamber of Commerce and Industry, LCCI, estimated that the Nigerian economy lost about 700 billion naira in just first 12 days of the protest, reflecting the severe disruption to commerce and transport. And according to other estimates, some government and financial analysts put the total cost of damage to infrastructure, businesses, vehicles, and public assets in excess of 1 trillion naira when rebuilding the replacement and cost induced. So there are some other areas where that wasn't all. So look at the destruction. And you expect the government not to intervene decisively when such is noticed.
At the beginning, there was no destruction. If somebody had addressed them earlier, would there be destruction?
That's why I asked, is prevention not better than reaction?
They are not preventing. If they are preventing, they will govern well. They're not preventing anything. That's why I said, why can't we have jobs? Look at this. First Lady Oluremi Tinubu went to Ogun State and said she collaborated with the Ogun State governor and was giving 50 million. I said, no, please. 50 million to 1,000 people is really 50,000. Now tell me, what business in Nigeria do you start with 50,000? So it's better than the 10,000 that the former vice president of Buhari was distributing in the marketplace. People that will drink wine of 650 million are telling women have children, no? Everybody that understands business, so there must be working capital. What business are you going to do with 50,000 when you owe so much? So they know what to do, but they are not doing it because their convenience, going around the world and buying diamond, which they don't even recognize anyway. Somebody once showed me pictures. Look at it. This first, I said, this one's me. I'm a chemist. That thing can be plastic. I mean, what are you talking about? I said, who will sell real diamond to you? That kind of stuff. So when you are not knowledgeable, anybody can sell any dope to you, okay? So what I'm saying is simple. If you govern well, there'll be no protest. Have you seen a woman that left a good man? You've seen one. She's enjoying herself. She's happy. She'll be protecting the man. Have you seen people beating a good child?
So some claimed the aftermath of the NSAS protest
allowed
the government to initiate radical police reforms.
Wait, that happened, but look at this, 700 billion. I'm saying, so the 3 weeks, have they ever made 700 billion? If somebody say I made a loss, that's why estimate. We're estimating, sometimes it's a psychological estimate.
Aside from that, private sectors also listed their losses, right?
The private sector that is exploiting
even insurance
people.
Companies. The insurance firms are reported around 9 billion naira in claims paid for damages from vandalism, looting, and fire damage. A figure that could rise as more claims are submitted.
They should pay the claims. The reason they insured the place was for the claims. All the claims that did not happen every year, what happened to them? So let's get this right. Prevention is better than cure means put a system in place that will take care of disputes, resolve disputes before it becomes a problem. By the time, look, I'm a comrade. Do you know that when we go out, people don't follow us on time? They hardly do.
Do you think Nigerians blow things out of proportion?
No, I don't think so. In fact, I think Nigerians are too laid back.
They lay too much emphasis on issues that really should not matter.
They grew up as slaves. What do you think they'll do? Do you understand what I'm saying? That's why Karl Marx had to speak. In fact, there was a time, I think that was around 1990, a colleague, I was a lecturer, came to me and said, why do you always fight for the poor? I was looking at him. He said, have you ever been poor? I said, that is why we fight for the poor, because they don't know what is the cause of their poverty. And that is why I'm saying now, it is nothing big for the federal government of Nigeria, all this infrastructure, create business, create jobs in every local government. If the resource in my local government is agrarian, let me just start from the farm to the table process. You don't know that means you are employing everybody across board? Is it difficult? Or your state is busy with roads? What will it take them to create 33 industries in local government? What will it take them? Because when men are employed, they'll be busy about the job and let it be something they can source locally. Don't let it be something that is coming from somewhere else.
What can the government do to make protest the last resort?
Well, it's simple. When people complain, listen to them. Create a feedback system. Anybody that is managing a business knows you must listen to
Create
the
a platform to address redress.
and let it be seen that you're doing something about it. You cannot promise us there will be lights and we've not seen lights and now you're thinking you're going to be governor of my state. How? Think about it. You cannot say that you are a Peter Obi. You cannot manage Labour Party. You want to manage Nigeria. Look, when there is no truth, we die. We cannot be assuming you'll be good when you get there. How? Look, people that are generous are already generous, even in primary school.
How can the government manage and balance firmness and fairness when it comes to addressing future protests?
Oyo State government has done it. You notice that anytime people are about to protest, the governor will go and meet them, even come out and address them.
Some say it was aiding and abetting.
No. Look, let me tell you, I'm a public speaker and I teach speech. Now, one of the most difficult speech you ever find yourself giving is as a politician. Because you're looking at a crowd of people that can be for against your policy. So under strong pressure, but if you don't want that pressure to arise in the first place, you begin to put things in place that will make protest almost impossible. When there is good, you protest against an idea, you protest against a system, you protest the pain you're feeling. So if already there's school present, people will dance for you. The pensioners of Oyo State are dancing for the governor. Because before they ask, he's taking steps. When they bring things to his table, he says yes. But some pensioners are dying in other states. If you pay people's salary as at when due, no matter how little, there's a level of stability in their life experience. Will they be protesting? They will not protest. If in a home there's fidelity, will the woman be complaining? She'll cook for you. So let's create system. That's why we talk about peace building. There are processes of peace building.
Would you support stricter protest regulations if it saves lives and properties?
The people protest, are they not human beings? Why would you want to restrict protest? You cannot suppress protest. Look, that's why I said...
You just made claims about providing an enabling environment, putting some things in place.
Protest.
Even if you do that, human beings are insatiable.
No. See, human beings grow. But they cannot protest to you if you have no responsibility over them. Now, the government has given you a New Year present. We're going to tax reform. If they were sincere, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, no, okay? If they were sincere, what they should have done, national orientation by June last year
should have started.
Would start addressing the people, pay for jingles on all the radio stations and TV stations, and say, this are the tax, and they will show us. This Article 1 says this Article 2 says this means if this is this. They will explain it to you in your local language. They will explain it to children in primary school. That government needs taxes to build the nation. And when you are 18 and positively engaged, you will be able to do it. It means that this is your business volume. This is the money, the profit from your business. Share it with the government so that public facilities can reach everybody. It's not difficult to explain to somebody. But when somebody has another private agenda, we just rule over them. People, you think everybody will be stupid all the time? You can fool some people sometimes. You cannot fool the people all the time. And we have to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery. When you think a man is better than you because he's wearing double layered of clothes. Yes. When you know that the king is not protecting your land, he's selling off the minerals in the land. When he sells everything, what will happen to the next generation? The world talks about sustainable living. Sustainable living means it can go round. And do you know the terrible thing about Abuja? You have more, let's say about even America, is that you have more homes than you have the homeless people. So what does that one mean? Why should our soldiers go to war and somebody that is a criminal against the land has the information before them? So we will not stop protesting. We will not stop struggling. It is the force of evil versus good.
So what role should the citizens play
they should get informed.
Helping the government to prevent future occurrences?
Government? The government is governing them. So what people should do is simple. Get yourself educated. I'll tell you what happened once. I was on a protest. So when I returned to pick my kids from school, the headmaster said, hey, madam, you know what the problem is? I said, what's the problem? Because I was really like in my normal garb now. They say, they are treating us like this. because we don't know our rights. I was like, eh? I looked at this tall man and he's heading a home. He does not know his right. He does not know his... I said, then find out. Do you know that guy found out his right and changed his job? He went back to school and changed his life. When you are blaming the third party, they are not giving... Even right now, even citizens in Nigeria, if you are a civil servant, it simply means civilized servant. You can speak English. If what you're using to dress to work is more than 20% of your salary, see, there are economic analysis that you can do. And all your money ends in 2 weeks after you are paid. And you have to find yourself taking bribes. You have lost your heaven. Is it not better to protest against the person that is creating such a system and be paid duly?
Correct, Katie, we have to go. Thank you for joining us on the show this morning. That's been a wonderful session with you. Now, as we wrap up today's big story, one truth stands out. Clearly, protests do not emerge in a vacuum, and crackdowns do not erase grievances. They only postpone them. From America's 10th Street to the volatile grounds of Iran and Iraq, and in Nigeria's NSAS experience, the lesson is consistent. When governments choose force over dialogue, civic freedom pays the price. The silence that follows is often not consent, but suppression. Our thanks to Comrade Oluwakemi Ademola Remo, KT, for joining us on the show this morning, for lending a voice and insights to this critical conversation. The future of civic freedom depends not just on those in power, but on citizens who continue to ask questions, demand accountability, and insist that their voices matter. I am Samson Balogo, and this has been The Big Story. Until next time, remember, a society where the streets are too afraid to speak is one already in danger. Up next is Trend Watch. Let's go on a quick break.